What's up, everybody? This is Nick, and once again, you're joining us for the Pull Up a Chair podcast. It is now Nick. Hang on, I haven't even introduced you yet. No comments yet, sir. They don't even know you're here yet. Especially those that are listening, they don't know that someone else is in the room with me. But if you are listening, let me describe to you what I just did. I am complete with new glasses, new awesome 80s glasses that I can flip up the front with, and now I'm even more 80s than I was a day ago. So, let me welcome you to the Pull Up a Chair podcast. As always, I am joined once again. I tried to trick you and make you think that no one was here, but I am joined by international man of mystery himself, my co-host,
Eric.
And Eric, what do you have for us today? What nuggets of wisdom are you bringing to the table?
I don't have anything. This is your show, Nick.
My show? No, this is
your show.
Our show.
Yes, but this topic.
This is a show about friendship, about 80s and 90s nostalgia that brings everybody together. You know what? The world would be a more peaceful place if people would embrace the 80s and 90s.
Well, I agree with that. That's no doubt at all, because 80s and 90s were a peaceful time, right?
They were. In fact, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say that
these are
Let's say that like right now it's a little dark, but when I flip up the shades, just like the 80s and 90s, when I embrace it, I can see clearly again. That's what 80s and 90s bring for us.
Horrible analogy.
But
your glasses are super impractical.
You know
I
what?
put them on.
They are not impractical. They are impressive, sir. You are just jealous that you don't have your own pair.
I don't.
However, allow me to take you back to September 5th.
Oh, I'm going back. Oh,
hang on.
I know where I was at. I remember.
Go back in your Wayback Machine, September 5th.
I already got
1992.
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking about this week. I got to think back, and I know where I was at.
Okay.
1992. Eric, where were you?
1992.
Okay. September 5th.
September 5th? Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry.
9592.
I'm sorry. I pulled up September 6th. September 5th. If I believe that was a Tuesday. No. That was a Monday. And I just got home from school. I walked to the refrigerator, opened that bad boy up, and poured me a nice cold cup of Kool-Aid.
What kind of Kool-Aid?
Cherry, I believe, that day. Later on, I became more of a black cherry man.
Don't tease the people. Tell them what kind of cherry. Black cherry.
It was just standard cherry Kool-Aid. Okay. Come on, man.
Okay.
I wasn't fancy back then. I was young and dumb.
Okay.
Only later on did I learn black cherry Kool-Aid was the way to go. I did that. I walked from my kitchen to my front room. Well, not mine. My parents, obviously. I paid rent.
I need to make a correction here that you said earlier.
Are you checking the date?
I wanted to make sure, because I want to make sure we've got the exact day.
Oh,
you might be remembering a Tuesday, sir.
Oh.
But this was actually a Saturday.
It was a Saturday. Oh.
September 5th, 1992 was a Saturday. So you may not have been drinking that Kool-Aid.
That wasn't a Kool-Aid
I want
day.
an accurate story, sir.
Okay, Saturday.
The viewers want to know. Stop hiding the truth.
I was asleep until I believe about 7:10, which was late for me. Typically, I got up early on those days to start off my cartoon regime. I got up, I walked to the kitchen, made myself a bowl of cereal. If I remember right, it was Raisin Squares. The most delicious cereal you could ever have.
Normally followed up with a good restroom break.
Well, I would actually eat Orangeos or what are they called? OJOs?
OJs.
OJs. I eat some OJs after to get my vitamin C.
Right.
As you did. So I do that in front of the TV. I didn't have no PD pajamas. I just in some shorts or some tidy whities.
Okay.
Plop down.
Well, I mean, this is when you were 12. I mean, I'm out of
I'm not.
my footy pajamas
I
at
didn't
this point.
have any because we didn't have that kind of
I
money.
still tried to wear them, but they didn't fit anymore.
It was like on your arms.
Right.
And I sit down in front of the TV to watch a fantastic lineup of cartoons. Now I'm struggling with the cartoon lineup I watched that morning. What do you remember what was out?
My friend, had you turned to a Fox here, what would have been Fox 25?
23, where I was at.
Oh, 23 where you were at. Okay, here in Oklahoma is 25. You would have watched a little segment called Fox Kids.
I watched Fox Kids.
And on that segment, on that day, 25 years ago.
Yes. Well, what happened?
Oh, my friend. It was a world-changing event. Everybody remembers where they were 25 years ago on September 5th.
Except for me.
When... No, you have...
I didn't have enough memory.
You have adequately identified what you were doing, how you were getting there.
Oh, okay.
You don't remember the exact shows, but I'm about to tell you one that you probably watched and probably were excited for when you saw the commercials.
Okay.
It was Batman.
Whoa! Batman. Which one?
Batman, the animated series.
Are you kidding me?
Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill. I'm talking Joker. I'm talking Harley Quinn. I'm talking Batman.
Mr. Freeze.
I'm talking Mr. Freeze, Clayface, Robin. I mean, the gang's all here. Penguin, you name it. They showed up, and it was a festival for the eyes to behold, my friend.
Agree.
And so this week, and I'll be honest, this makes me feel a little bit old because I remember actually seeing the commercials for this show, being excited for this show, and then watching the show and thinking, this is a good show.
Did you read the comic books before that?
I did not. I did not read the comic books. However, I did watch a little show that was just like a visual comic book.
Okay.
A talkie comic book, if you will.
A talkie comic book.
Called Super Friends.
Well, their character models were based on the comic book. That's why they look so stiff.
I want to just point out one thing I was upset about when I originally watched the Batman animated series. No Wonder Twins.
That's something you were saying. I hated the Wonder Twins.
What?
I hate the boy.
Sir,
the boy.
shut your mouth.
The boy always turns into the most
Shut your
worthless
mouth.
stuff. The worthless stuff.
No, he was
could turn
always
into-
the most useful stuff. He could clean a floor.
A bucket of water, a glass of water, a wave of water.
The people would always slip on him, man. It was beautiful. And then they had the monkey that would just start hitting people. Anyway, so we have this show that began. Do you remember what the first episode of it was?
Oh, man.
What was the first episode and who was the villain in that episode?
Oh, dude. I've seen that series back to front, but I couldn't tell you which was the first. I'm gonna throw a dart.
Okay.
Man-Bat.
You are correct, sir.
Yes!
It was actually called On Leather Wings.
Oh, yes!
And it had Man-Bat in it.
I can't believe I remembered that. I plowed through my memory to get that one.
Buddy, this really was a great show. Now, some things I have learned thanks to some of these articles that are coming out, which if you have not looked up anything about the 25th anniversary, look it up because there's some cool articles coming out about it.
Well, how about they just listen to us first?
Well, they could. But there's some, but I'm saying even after after we have shot this, I am sure that there's going to be some more stuff coming out, some more people talking about things.
Oh, for sure.
Let me give you a little tidbit here.
Oh, you tidbit it up, boy.
Kevin Conroy.
The voice.
The voice of Batman and Bruce Wayne.
As we all love voice actors here on
Right.
PUC Podcast.
Which let's just give the man his praise right now. Probably, and much like many people, anytime I read anything that Batman says or I read anything the Joker says, these are the voices that I hear.
So it's not Kevin Costner you hear. It's not, what's that?
Kevin Costner. Why would I?
Who was?
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton or what? What's that?
Christopher Nolan's who was the Christopher Nolan?
Bale.
Bale. Yeah, Christian Bale.
No, I was thinking.
I
don't-
swear to me.
What was Batman here?
Yes, he's here. And Christian Bale, everybody.
Quit hitting me.
Yeah. Good for you.
What was the one that was really weird? Batman and Robin one.
Oh, that was George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Clooney was just there to get a paycheck. I mean, he just walked. I mean, he didn't bother changing the voice between Batman and Bruce Wayne. He's like, "Hey, Freeze, I'm Batman."
I'm Batman.
Like,
hey, I'm Bruce Wayne.
Hey, I'm Bruce Wayne. Also, you know what? Who cares at this point?
So yeah, back on it. He is the definitive
voice.
Batman voice.
Right.
Just as his primary antagonist, Mark Hamill, is the.
Well, let me back up for a second. Kevin Conroy's primary antagonist in life is not Mark Hamill.
Well,
they enjoy each other, from what I understand.
Never. They should be sworn enemies.
They are not locked in battle every single day.
We can only hope.
I want to just, like, every Comic-Con, it's like anytime both of them show up in the room, it just breaks out in a fist fight.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. Like, oh man, wait, Hamill's coming into the room, like, with the chair. Like, he's coming off the top rope. But no, I mean, you're right. Voiced, Batman's main antithesis, his main antagonist, or whatever you want to say, the Joker, voiced by Mark Hamill, of actually, little known Mark Hamill.
Smaller.
Right. Little known Mark Hamill didn't do much before this. Was in something called Snarwalls.
Star Walls.
There we go.
He was a sea creature.
Right. He
with
was
a tooth through his head that it looks like a horn.
Apparently he was a Luke Skykicker.
I've never heard of him.
Well, yeah, it's really, just really little known franchise, I'm sure.
So yes, he's the Mark Hamill of Star Wars is the Joker.
Voice of the Joker, which, here's the thing, I didn't realize until later in life that was him.
Same here. The voice is so different from the Luke Skywalker voice I grew up with.
Right.
I could not connect the two, and usually that didn't happen. Usually, as we've talked about before,
you could pick somebody out.
You could, even if they change their voice, that's something about the resonance of their voice. You could say, oh, these two are the same voice actors.
Right.
A good amount of the time. But I couldn't do it. The Joker was such a unique character, and I think he was such a dynamic character on screen that I didn't really listen for that either. I didn't expect it, for one. No,
it was incredible to see just what they did with that character and how he voiced that character and all of that. But I was getting to an article I read today where Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill both gave their favorite episodes.
All right.
That they did.
Favorite episodes. Oh my goodness.
I will give you a hint. Let's see if you can pull this out from your memory bank. You said you've watched this series.
But I've watched so many of this series.
I know.
We just talked hold on. We just talked about the Clayface, where Clayface has a daughter-esque through he releases a clone or a clay drone.
Yeah, and
it becomes sentient.
Right.
And that's I thought that was from the animated series, and you told me no, that's from the next series.
Right, the New Adventures of Batman.
The New Adventures of Batman. And I didn't realize
when they changed the animation a lot of people didn't like that, which, I was more of a fan like you. I was more of a fan of the original animation, which was incredible. It was fluid. It was just beautiful. But okay, let me give you a hint on this. Kevin Conroy, one of his favorite episodes was an episode he had to voice Thomas Wayne. He had to come up with the voice of Thomas Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's father. But there was an episode that Thomas Wayne shows up.
Is it? Hold on. Thomas Wayne. Is it the episode where Batman has flashbacks, but they're not real? They're illusionary flashbacks?
Yes.
Is it something? Who was?
They're not really flashbacks.
They're hallucinations.
It was done by the Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter?
Yeah.
Oh, I won't get it.
It was an episode where it was called Perchance to Dream. and it's where where Bruce Wayne is stuck in a dream,
Okay.
and his parents are still alive. And remember, he reads in the dream, he realizes it's a dream by reading the words, like the words in the book don't make
That'll
sense.
make sense. And that's a standard. Like if you look on the internet about dreams, how to figure out if you're in a dream, they say try to read something and you can't. It's a pretty common thing.
The other one he really enjoyed was, of course, which to me is one of the greatest Batman movies ever made, that actually went to theaters, an animated movie that actually went to theaters, and
Right.
it was Mask of the Phantasm.
I've seen that. I watched it probably 3 months ago.
It is one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest Batman movies ever made.
I wish I remembered it more. I'd have to. I remember the visuals a little bit, kind of the style, but I can't remember the storyline. Remind me what it was.
It's the one where you kind of get a backstory on the Joker a little bit.
Okay.
The Phantasm is this character that kind of has a blade for a hand and wears a mask and just kind of shows up, and Batman's trying to figure out who it is.
Yes.
And I'm not going to give any spoilers here. I know it's an old movie, but anybody that hasn't seen it, go watch it. It is a great movie. You'll kind of figure out the big mystery kind of halfway through. It's a little obvious. But let me read this quote by Kevin Conroy. He says, I got to create Thomas Wayne's voice, which was a really fun challenge in addition to bringing the episode's incredible story to life. The wonderful thing about playing a character like Bruce Wayne is that you get to explore his damaged psychology. I love the scripts that examine his internal makeup. Perchance to Dream, the movie, The Mask of the Phantasm, they really dig into this man and what led him to become Batman.
Man.
And I agree. I mean, these were two episodes that really got in, or I mean, one was a movie, one was an episode, but really got into the psychology of Batman.
Really?
Yeah, and that was the thing about this cartoon. As you and I have talked about, and we saw in some videos we watched earlier, this was different in the fact that they went for a darker tone, even in the cartoon.
Yes, it was the first cartoon that I remember seeing that had any kind of dark undertones, which you can find a lot more now. But 1992, I had never seen anything like it.
Well,
even the opening credit was crazy.
12-year-old Nick wouldn't even understand a lot of the, like, I go back and I watch some of these still today because I have them. I mean, they're on I think they have them on Hulu, don't they? I don't know. I don't know. But I've got them on DVD, and I'll go back and watch some of these today, and I sit there and I'm amazed at the depth of the story and what they do, and just get into the psychology, get into who Bruce Wayne is. And that was also the thing, is that it was really one of the first mediums that really made a distinction between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Yes.
Always in the previous incarnations of Batman, Bruce Wayne and Batman had the same personality.
Right.
And it was just this upbeat, I'm a crime fighter, I'm a good guy. And in the animated series, Batman's personality and Bruce Wayne's personality were very different. And you actually felt that that Bruce Wayne's personality was completely fake.
Right.
That was not him. It was a persona he put on to be accepted in society and to play the role as a millionaire, billionaire, whatever they considered him then.
Well, and that's the thing, is this show, I would have to look. I think it followed the second Tim Burton movie.
Okay.
Was when this show started. I'd have to look up when the second Tim Burton movie happened, but it either followed the first and was shortly before, or I think it was right after. But that was one thing, is that in those Tim Burton movies, I remember a complaint about them is that they didn't show much of Bruce Wayne. And people wanted to kind of see in the movies, wanted to see a dichotomy between Batman and Bruce Wayne. This show did that.
They did it beautifully too.
Yes. I mean,
And I got one thing to say. Can you take off your stupid glasses?
No, it is. These are a staple, sir. These
So ridiculous.
These are something that
I can't look at you. I'm not looking at you the rest of this podcast.
that is fine. Actually, so this was, I was right. This was shortly after Batman Returns, the second Tim Burton movie. Batman Returns came out in June 16th, 1992. This was September 5th, 1992. So there wasn't.
Wow, that's a pretty short window.
Yeah, I mean, there was
media production.
There wasn't much between the two really at all. And so we have this show, but I need to get back to that article for a second. There was another statement here. Hamill, who like we said, voiced the Joker. He mentioned some of his favorites. Says, I'm going to just read his entirety. Says the Joker never gets tiresome because he's insane, and that makes him unpredictable, which is never boring. I love that he has the emotional maturity of a 9-year-old and he can turn on a dime. I loved The Laughing Fish, which was a story taken out of the comics, Joker's Favor, and The Man Who Killed Batman, which has the best Joker monologue of all time.
Can you recite that monologue he's talking about?
I cannot, actually. I do remember.
I can't remember it.
I do remember the episode.
Okay.
Because that's the one where the guy... Batman basically fakes his death and everybody thinks that this kind of, small time criminal killed him.
Yes.
And so the Joker gets mad at him because he wasn't, he killed him and the Joker didn't.
Oh, yeah.
And so but I do remember why he gives the monologue, because he gives the monologue about how he should have been the one to do it. And that this guy
stole all the
right.
what he's been seeking and going after.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I agree. I mean, these were great episodes. I of course, to hear the voice actors talk about them, and I know we're getting off on some things, and we actually might have to make this a 2-parter because there's a lot to. I mean, we're probably going to come back to this. There's a lot to this. But the other thing that I found is, did you know that Mark Hamill was not the first choice?
I didn't know that.
Who do you think back in that time? Who do you think would have been a pick for the Joker?
I'm trying to think. The guy that voiced
think
Megatron.
No. Think Crazy Clowns.
Crazy Clowns. The clown off of Garfield.
No. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. What did he voice?
He's done a lot of voices, but he was, if you remember, part of the reason they wanted him was he was the voice, or he was It. The clown It from the old It miniseries, Stephen King's miniseries.
I never watched that.
Oh, you never did?
No.
So
you kidding me?
He was going to be the Joker originally. And apparently he did some lines for it and all of that stuff, but he ended up getting bronchitis and production needed to keep going and he couldn't do the voice, so they fired him and they went with Mark Hamill. And they gave Mark Hamill one piece of direction, and I have this quote from Mark Hamill. It says they told him to do one thing in his voicing of the Joker. They said, "Don't think Jack Nicholson." And he says, "I remember going in and they gave me the Nicholson note, which wasn't anything I wanted to do. I wanted to deliver an old school comic book interpretation of the Joker. He's a theatrical guy who really has fun. The joy has to come across in the battle with Batman."
Yeah.
Which I think he captured beautifully.
What's interesting about the Joker as a villain is he's not after anything other than chaos. Like, he's just out to have a good time. He doesn't care about money, killing people, really, dominating anything. He just usually wants to just mess with society. He literally has a mental illness.
Well, he does, but it actually goes a little deeper in that because there were some episodes that really got into the fact that he wanted, he really kind of wanted Batman's attention.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's
It was
lonely.
more about messing with Batman than anything else because even in the episode about
The man who killed Batman.
Man Who Killed Batman,
Yeah,
he kind of goes
he's distraught.
right. He's
Yeah,
distraught.
I remember that.
He kind of goes soft after that and he's like depressed.
He just slumps down in a chair. And,
Right.
like there's nothing left to do, nothing left to live for. So the idea that Batman created the Joker is real.
Right. I mean, it was something that kept him driving. And I will say this: look up some of the articles because some of the early drawings. I found an article on some of the early art that they had out for what the Batman and what the Joker and all that were going to look like.
Robin looks like the Robin out of Justice League.
He really does. Yeah, he does. I think they carried over some of the drawings, but you can see some of the ways that they did the Penguin is the one that had the major overhaul here. The Penguin was originally going to be more like the old 60s. Which they ended up changing him to in the New Adventures of Batman. But
They thinned him up.
yeah, they thinned him up and they made him. But I mean, there was the one off the '66 Batman played by I don't remember the guy's name. I think Jack Napier, but he was kind of more slender. But they ended up. I'm sorry, it was not Jack Napier. Jack Napier was the name of the Joker. I'm very sorry about it. Burgess Meredith. That's who was Penguin. Anyway, but they ended up going obviously with the look of Danny DeVito from Batman Returns.
Yes.
Because that movie, I'm guessing the studio put some pressure on him to kind of fall in line with the movies a little bit.
I don't understand that. What's the point in that?
I don't know. And that was something I never understood as a child. I didn't know if this was supposed to be set in the movie world or not.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily they didn't set it there. I mean, I know now that they didn't, but I mean, luckily they didn't because that would have been
Horrible.
weird because they killed off the Joker.
Yeah.
I always wondered as a kid, I always wondered how they brought him back to life because my understanding was supposed to be like, oh, well, this is supposed to be continuation.
Well, I never knew of alternate tellings and alternate universes back then. It's just something I wasn't familiar with because
Right.
I wasn't into the comic book scene. There wasn't much of that where I lived. I was kind of out in the country and
Well, and I vaguely remember even the ad mentioning, because that's why I kind of remember it following closely on the heels of Batman Returns.
yeah.
Because I remember an ad saying the continuing adventures of Batman. It was something like, you loved him in the movie, now watch his continuing adventures
Oh, really?
of Batman. And it was something that I was like, oh, well, it's supposed to be in the movie universe. And then, of course,
Joker's there.
Joker all of a sudden popped up a few episodes in, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on anymore. Like life made no sense anymore.
Yeah.
Joker was actually in the second episode, and that was the Christmas with Joker, which actually aired on November 13th. So there was a little bit of a gap there.
That's a month.
Yeah.
Over a month gap between the first and second episode.
Well, so I guess I guess the second episode to air was called Nothing to Fear, and then Christmas with the Joker. It was actually the second episode made, but it aired later.
Okay.
So, I guess the first episode to actually air with the Joker in it would have been called The Last Laugh, which is the one where he covers Gotham in a cloud of laughing gas. And Batman obviously saves everybody, and people, they die with a smile.
Yeah, as you do.
As you do. But, we're coming upon, and we're going to have to do 2 episodes with this, but
Sure.
Before we finish up, we got to make a comment here very quickly. You have pulled up here the list of voice actors.
Oh yeah, I mean,
this is not
all-star voice actors here, guys.
I was going to say, this is not just your typical voice actors. We go through we go through voice actors and we look at those, and there are people that are just voice actors.
Yes.
But a lot of these people that we're looking at here are not that. I mean, these are known names. I honestly, before sitting down and doing a little research, did not know the sheer amount of people that were involved with this show. Like one of the big names, I mean, there's a lot of big names here, but one of the big names that sticks out to me was Clayface, voiced by Ron Perlman.
Man, that's crazy.
Which Ron Perlman, was...
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was Beast in Beauty and the Beast. He was Hellboy.
Hellboy. That's why I always know him as Hellboy.
He was on that show with the motorcycle, Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, I never seen that.
Which was, I knew people that thought it was very pop or really
I knew some
enjoyed
people
it.
who liked it too. I just never got it.
I mean, there's Richard Mall, who did the voice of Harvey Dent, which I never would have guessed, who was Bull off of Night Court.
Well, I loved Bull off of Night Court.
He was...
That was Harvey Dent?
That was the voice of Harvey Dent.
Oh my goodness.
Which I would have never... Once again, a voice that I would have never picked out.
I wouldn't have got that. I mean, Bull on Night Court. That Night Court is such a good sitcom. I've looked for it on and off. In fact, I posted on Facebook as someone had put a picture out and I was like, I wish I could find this somewhere to watch. And this lady was like, well, you can watch it on this channel. It's an over air channel. And I looked it up in our area. It's not over air, but apparently it plays all the time on like the Laughs or something channel, Laughs channel or something like that. Man, I miss Night Court. You got me start thinking about Night Court.
Well,
now.
I apologize. You had Dick Grayson was voiced by a guy by the name of Lauren Lester, he actually showed up in quite a few episodes of, like Star Trek and stuff like that. You had the guy that voiced Alfred Pennyworth was, from what I understand, he was a well-known singer in New Zealand, and he was a star of the London stage. And
you talking about Ephraim?
No, I'm talking about the first 3 episodes were done by a guy by the name of... They changed the voice.
Yeah, they changed their voice.
Later on, which I was going to get to him, but later on, Zimbalist Jr. took over.
Yep, Zimbalist. Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Who was actually in quite a few things, voiced quite a few people, voiced a lot of characters in the Spider-Man animated series of the 90s. He did. I do remember him actually from an episode of the old Maverick show that I used to watch with my dad.
Oh, yeah?
On, when it would come on reruns.
Oh, he voiced even into Justice League and Static Shock.
Well, yeah.
He voiced Alfred even into that. I mean, that's a decade of voicing Alfred.
He became the voice of Alfred.
Yes.
I mean,
pretty much every voice from the animated series is the voice you think of.
Right.
Because it is the pinnacle of really the Batman genre, Batman overall. I mean, I can't count the comic books because I've never read any of them because I'm not a comic book person. However, every character off the Batman animated series is done so superbly, not only in their character art, their voice acting, the directing, in the animation, everything they did, just the atmosphere they developed in the series was phenomenal. Oh, he voiced on Gargoyles too. He was Mace Malone on Gargoyles.
And one of the big names that I didn't realize, and we talked about an episode that had him in it, the Mad Hatter was actually voiced by Roddy McDowall.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I was looking for that. I was like, we talked about the Mad Hatter and I couldn't find him at first. I still haven't found him in my list.
You know who Roddy McDowall is, right? Who one of his biggest roles he played was in the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And I mean, just famous actor.
Where do you see that at?
It's in the list of antagonists.
Oh, okay.
He's in there. But I mean, Ra's al Ghul was, we could go through this entire list and give you who these people are. you would have to look, but I mean, the voices of Ra's al Ghul are incredible. Bane was incredible. Mr. Freeze, I mean, Dr. Freeze, whatever you want to call him. I mean, that voice was one that, I mean, just became iconic. Actually, the second movie based off this animated series was one that had a backstory to Freeze.
Which came out of the animated series.
Which, well, let's mention that. That's one of the changes. This series made a lot of changes to the mythos of Batman as an entirety.
It did.
And we will have to do a whole episode on that, and we're not going to get into that, but one of the changes it did bring was Mr. Freeze's character arc. It made him a more sympathetic. From the comic books, he was just a robber, but they made up a story about his wife being frozen and sick.
Yeah, he froze her because she was sick to find a cure, and the company that he worked for shut down the project violently, which created him and turned him into Mr. Freeze or Dr. Freeze or whatever it is. And also, they unplugged his wife's life support, basically, and she died.
Right.
And that's where he came from. The opening monologue of Mr. Freeze in that episode is phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
Just he's talking about his wife, and it just brought chills.
And that storyline won an Emmy. It was so well received that even comic book writers today, that one called it was actually called Heart of Ice. It won the series a 1993 Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Writing in an Animated Program.
Not surprising.
And it
well deserved.
Yes, very well deserved. But it is still identified as by many comic book writers to being influential to them and probably one of their favorite comic book adaptations ever.
I can't argue with them. I wish I was a comic book writer so I could just chime in there and give it my praise too, but I'm just a random podcaster.
Right.
And I will give it my praise nonetheless.
But it was incredible. And once again, we are going to have to do multiple episodes about this. We're running low on time here, so we're going to have to wrap this up. But coming up, in future podcasts, and we might have to do these back to back.
Okay.
But in future podcasts, we will talk about. We've already talked about the voice acting. We will talk about certain episodes that changed the face of Batman, literally. We will talk about, because, I mean, we haven't even touched on probably one of the biggest contributions of this show.
Created its own franchise, practically.
Right. Which is, I mean, we'll just throw it out there. The character of
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn was created by this show.
It was supposed to be a throwaway character.
Right.
But everyone loved her.
But she became so popular.
Yes.
That it was something that they kept and it continued going.
Man, who didn't have a crush on Harley Quinn though? Those tight bodysuits. You kidding me?
Oh,
you
man.
kidding me?
Well, I mean, it
12-year-old, 13-year-old Eric Boyd was like, what?
Well, and not only that, she was the opposite, or not really the opposite, but she was I mean, I'm not really sure what to call it. I mean, she was the girlfriend of the Joker.
The punching bag of Joker.
Right.
The most abusive boyfriend ever, I guess.
By the way, holy cow. Well,
let's not get into it.
We'll get back to that here in a minute. Okay. So, guys, we're just gonna stop it there. If you don't know much about Batman the Animated Series, here's what I would say: go watch it. If you are,
how many episodes did they end up on?
Oh man, let's see, they
had
on
for a couple years. I'm gonna guess 60.
It was almost 3 years to the day that the show went off the air. It went off the air. It last aired on September 15th, 1995.
Oh, wow.
So almost 3 years to the day. It had 85 episodes.
85 episodes. Okay. Wow. That probably includes some Christmas specials. So
right.
Awesome. And man, if you haven't seen it, you got joy coming in front of you, man. Just run towards it.
Go watch it. Especially go watch the Mask of the Phantasm.
That is a good movie.
I would even say the second one, the Mr. Freeze movie, was a good movie. It wasn't as good as Mask of the Phantasm in my opinion, but it was still a good movie.
You're talking about the animated movie, right?
Yeah, the second animated movie.
Okay.
Not Batman Returns.
I didn't want people to get confused thinking you meant Batman Returns.
Yeah, don't go watch Batman Returns and then come back to the podcast and be like, well, I'm never going to listen to those guys again. They don't know what they're talking about.
We don't know what we're talking about.
really
That's
don't.
true.
But guys, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Eric, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
Well, guys, you can find us all over the place. First of all, go to iTunes. Type in Pull Up a Chair and you will find us there. Give us a nice review. That'd be kind of you. 5 stars if I do say so myself. You can find us all over the Android verse, also Stitcher, the various Android apps. What's another Android app? There's a whole bunch of them. We're on all of them as far as I can tell. So just pick out an Android app that you like. We do Podbean primarily. And give us a rating there and maybe a sub if you don't mind. And you can find us on Facebook at Pull Up a Chair, which is a fantastic website if you've never heard of it. And you can find our page there. And you can also find us at our own little spot on the web.
Our own little corner, if you will.
Yeah, of the internets. And that is puckpodcast.website. PUC podcast.website. That is our personal place. We post articles there and do maybe some other stuff there in the coming days and years.
You can also find us at puckpodcast.angelfire.myspace and .lycos.
Like the search engine?
Search engine.
I
Somehow,
like it.
somehow we're just on there.
Oh, we're the only thing on there now.
We don't know how it works. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Eric, any final thoughts?
Not a big. I mean, I have a bunch, but we can't start over.
Oh, I understand. All right. Well, thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate it. We're honored that you listen to us and hear what we have to say. Hopefully, in the future, you'll tell a friend and let them know that we're out here and that we're worth listening to. Because you know what, Eric? Much like the 80s,
Gosh. No. Thank you.
we're worth listening to.
I hate you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.